What's it gonna do with this quarterback situation?
He better figure it out. You got Michael Penix, who is almost a second coming of Shedeur, the left-hand version. You seen what you did with Shedeur, and it was unacceptable. Who has gotten better from the player's perspective with Kevin Stefanski? The Atlanta Falcons, they're a young team. You got Michael Penix as your quarterback, Drake London as your receiver, Kyle Pitts. Your team is young.
Arthur Blank is not just upset, he's absolutely livid. The Atlanta Falcons owner and chairman is reportedly fuming behind the scenes, and insiders say the atmosphere inside that building is at a breaking point. The very coach he trusted to guide this franchise into its next era, Kevin Stefanski, is already at the center of serious drama. And no, this isn't about play-calling mistakes or questionable offensive schemes. Stefanski is now reportedly pressuring the front office to pursue another quarterback, which basically means pushing their own guy, Michael Penix Jr., to the sidelines before he's even had a fair shot to prove himself. And here's the twist. Arthur Blank is not signing off on that.
And was in Cleveland for about 6 years, had 13 different quarterbacks. One of them was Baker Mayfield. Another was Jacoby Brissett, obviously Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, various others. Nothing could work.
Let's really paint this picture. The Atlanta Falcons are being talked about as one of the most electric young squads rising through the league right now. This roster is stacked with dynamic young black talent making statement plays, shifting momentum, and flashing serious upside. These are hungry competitors, fueled by passion, embodying the heartbeat of Atlanta, one of the most iconic black cities in America. And right in the middle of it all, taking snaps, stands Michael Penix Jr., a young quarterback who has already delivered sparks of brilliance and the kind of untapped ability franchises pray for. The trajectory felt obvious. The blueprint felt locked in. And then Kevin Stefanski started making requests that blindsided everyone in that building. Now reports are circulating that Stefanski has asked management to acquire another quarterback for next season, not to challenge Penix, not to sharpen him, but to pivot away from the very path this franchise committed to. And here's where it gets wild. The specific type of quarterback Stefanski reportedly wants has people both inside and outside the organization doing double takes. The front office has already met behind closed doors to hash this out, carefully evaluating every angle. Do they move on from Stefanski, or do they push him to buy in and fully invest in developing Michael Penix Jr. the right way? As it stands, no final call has been made, but trust me, the pressure inside that building is undeniable. It's heavy, suffocating. You can almost feel it through the walls. And here's why this has Falcons leadership especially fired up. They didn't bring Stefanski in to tear down a long-term vision. They brought him in to amplify it. The expectation was simple. Be the architect, take this young core, and build a legitimate contender. Instead, what they're seeing is a coach who appears more focused on importing his own pieces than empowering the talent already cultivated. It's confusing. It's frustrating. It makes zero sense to people inside that organization. Nobody understands why a coach would step into a situation this loaded and immediately consider flipping the table. And you know who called this early? Cam Newton. Cam didn't ease into his take. He went full throttle the second the Falcons announced Stefanski's hiring, and his criticism had a clear direction. He openly questioned how ownership could examine Stefanski's resume, especially how he handled Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland, and still decide this was the leader they needed. Cam wasn't subtle about it either. He flat out argued that Stefanski denied Shedeur Sanders a fair opportunity, not due to a lack of skill, not because he wasn't prepared, but because of who Shedeur is, his background, and what he symbolizes. Shedeur Sanders embodies hood culture, authentic black culture, and according to Cam Newton, coaches like Stefanski either don't understand that or choose not to embrace it.
Yeah. How you gonna handle it? We seen what you did with Shedeur. And it was unacceptable.
Step back and really look at how this plays publicly. You've got a coach arriving from Cleveland, a place where only a select few black stars truly embodied the culture of that city. And now he's been dropped into Atlanta, a city where the fan base is overwhelmingly black, where the community pours its heart into this team, where culture isn't a side note, it is the franchise. The contrast couldn't be louder if it tried. Cam Newton made sure nobody missed it. And what once sounded like opinion is quickly turning into documented concern. Newton asked a question that hasn't stopped bouncing around social media since the hiring became official. If Kevin Stefanski handled Shedeur Sanders the way he did in Cleveland, why should anyone expect a different outcome now? Because we're not talking about a single rough Sunday or one questionable call. We're talking about what critics describe as a repeated pattern, a failure to properly nurture and empower young black quarterbacks rooted in authentic culture. When you revisit what unfolded in Cleveland, strip away the PR spin, and really study what happened with Shedeur, Cam's argument starts to feel less emotional and more logical. Cam didn't soften it either. He warned that people would flip the narrative, that they'd paint Shedeur as the issue to protect the system, but he shut that down immediately. In his view, the real issue wasn't the quarterback, it was Stefanski. And now we're watching similar tensions surface in Atlanta surrounding Michael Penix Jr., threatening to shift the direction of an entire organization. This isn't just chatter anymore. The pattern is unfolding in real time. What Cam was really emphasizing goes beyond Shedeur Sanders or even Michael Penix Jr. It's about the broader implications of handing control of rosters filled with elite young black talent to a coach critics believe may not fully embrace that identity. The Atlanta Falcons don't just have Penix, they have a locker room full of rising stars, young players bursting with potential, athletes who need belief, development, and real opportunity. So when you put someone like Stefanski at the head of that table, you have to ask yourself, what exactly do you think is going to happen?
What we've seen don't get better with Kevin Stefanski. And I'm looking at the personnel of the Atlanta Falcons. They're a young team. You got Michael Penix as your quarterback, Drake London as your receiver, Kyle Pitts,
Bijan.
Like that's a very young team. Like your team is young. It's like you're inheriting something that's already great and ready to rock and roll.
Cam Newton didn't whisper it, he said it with his chest. Atlanta is stacked with young prodigies, yet Kevin Stefanski hasn't proven he can truly elevate young talent, especially when that talent is black. The Shedeur Sanders saga wasn't just a random controversy. It became Exhibit A in a deeper debate about coaching culture, bias, and who actually gets patience in this league. When a white quarterback stumbles early, organizations preach development, double down on support, and buy him time. When a young black quarterback with real cultural roots faces adversity, the narrative too often flips to questioning whether he's the issue. Arthur Blank approved Stefanski's hiring with a clear blueprint in mind. He constructed this roster deliberately. He's watched these young players mature step by step. He understands what Michael Penix Jr. could grow into. And now, according to reports, he's in meetings visibly frustrated, trying to process how the coach he entrusted with that blueprint is already attempting to redraw it. The Atlanta Falcons chairman didn't assemble this roster just to surrender control to someone who doubts the quarterback in that locker room. He built it to win with the pieces already in place. So now the real question hits. What happens next? Does Blank step in and shut it down, making it absolutely clear that Michael Penix Jr. is the franchise guy, period, no debate? Does the organization decide this partnership is fractured beyond repair and cut ties with Stefanski before things spiral further? Or does this tension keep simmering behind closed doors, slowly affecting the only people who've done nothing wrong, the players? Cam Newton warned Atlanta from day one. He examined what happened in Cleveland. He evaluated Stefanski's history and raised the red flag loudly. At the time, critics said he was overreacting, jumping to conclusions. But watching this unfold inside the Falcons building right now, it's getting harder and harder to say Cam was off base about anything. He predicted it, and it's playing out almost frame by frame. Michael Penix Jr. deserves stability. The Atlanta Falcons deserve alignment. And this city, this culture, deserves a coach who genuinely believes in the men wearing that jersey. Arthur Blank feels it. The front office feels it. And now the entire football world is locked in, waiting to see their next move.